Good morning. You're looking at two black skillets. We're going to call them two black pots. This post will not get a lot of views because it is controversial. And I must apologize, but I will keep it as TikTok sanitized as possible. Black pot, black skillet, black skillet. On the first black skillet, we have homeless people who are unhoused, people who may use drugs, alcohol, substances, have mental illness, and who are dying and killing themselves in the streets. In the other pot, which happens to be filled with pork, and yes, we do eat pork in this household. Thyme from my garden. Cherries. Yes, because I put baking soda on the meat in order to soften the meat, because I'm cooking for an 81-year-old senior. Rinse the baking soda off, as I just learned, blew my mind. Then I put the cherries in because I'm cooking with pork and thyme to put sweetness back into the dish that does not raise the glycemic index of the dish. So it still reaches a benchmark for being somewhat keto, because I minimized the sugar for this 81-year-old who I love very much. And people don't get it, but neither one of us give a shit, yet I digress. The bottom pot is the city and the county of San Diego. And this is about selective enforcement and selective outrage. Did you notice that everywhere the poor communities, impoverished communities, and the unhoused populate, live, and flourish, wherever there are liquor stores, smoke shops that sell paraphernalia, and convenience stores. The ethnic identification of the people who own those stores you make at your own discretion, and it's only for informational purposes. If you walk into any one of those stores, none of the items in those stores are labeled as pricing. None of them are priced. Most of their customers carry EBT cards from a government program granted by the USDA. What would happen if I can put my own selective price on items in my store, because Weights and Measures under the San Diego County is not enforcing the rules? And through that oversight, I'm allowed to steal millions by raping the poor and the unhoused. What's to say if I use that money to invest in other endeavors? What about smoke shops that sell drug paraphernalia? The same drug paraphernalia that the homeless unhoused are using, that they need to take personal responsibility for, which is why we're not doing housing first in San Diego? None of this happens in a vacuum. I went to the San Diego City Council meeting. I wanted to speak. I put my name on the paper, Willie Lang. They did not call me, because I'm someone who will flip the entire argument on its head. And they still voted for the ordinance because classism is what classism does. But notice something that we clinicians know. If something is an issue that's unresolved, it will be a reoccurring theme. You push the risk into jails with sheriffs deputies that basically get high school diplomas, some criminal justice training, and some of your training. They know nothing about trauma-informed care. They know nothing about checking vitals. They know nothing about managing co-occurring disorders. You throw in a couple of clinicians and a lot of interns, some clinicians that have got their license and the ink hasn't really dried well, and you throw them into that population because they got a clean background. And you ignore the clinicians that don't have clean backgrounds but know this population because they work both sides of the aisle. And yes, I'm talking about myself. I'm a clinician. I know both backgrounds because I was a probation officer for several years, a child abuse investigator for several years, and I'm also a person who's convicted. I taught in the prisons. So I'm talking about what I know about, not what I heard, baby. I digress. Anyway, so you have this issue going on, and there is no enforcement at the city level, at the county level. You walk into those stores and yourself in the San Diego region, and you will see nothing is labeled. Weights and measures is falling down on the job. Look at the law about pricing and retail establishments, all retail establishments. Look at the law that gives weights and measures its powers. And see that San Diego County and San Diego City, while they're collaborating to put their foot on the necks of the homeless, the classism is allowing for the homeless to be raped, waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think it's actionable on some level. So you advocacy groups, I hope you understand the assignment. We shall see.